What's the story, Morning Glory? What is the word, hummingbird? Anyway, let's get into it. The Real Housewives of Atlanta. So, y'all, I have fallen off with the Real Housewives of Atlanta as far as doing the reviews because I have not been watching the episodes in a timely manner. I've been procrastinating every single time a new episode is recorded. I procrastinate because I'm not excited about watching it. And so I wait until the very last minute until it's too late to do a review. But here we are with the season finale. So the Real Housewives of Atlanta, the rumor is that they're going to fire the whole entire cast and recast the whole show. I think they should just put it to rest. Put the Real Housewives of Atlanta to rest. But I understand that the Real Housewives of Atlanta, it's a brand within itself. And so Bravo is not ready to let the Real Housewives of Atlanta go because that's a brand. And so they're going to keep it, but with new faces. Fine, whatever. I don't know. Don't care. This season, everybody talks about how boring it was. Everybody talks about how the ratings have been extremely low. And I don't know what to say. It has been lackluster. And I think the problem is because the whole season centered around Drew and Ralph. And Drew and Ralph are the least transparent people on this whole entire cast. They don't give the real. Ralph is always lying to Drew. Drew is always lying to us. So they tried to carry an entire season and it just didn't work. The whole entire season, Drew is saying in her confessionals how her and Ralph are in a good place right now, but then they end up filing for divorce. And it kind of was like we were kind of like blindsided by it. I mean, if you weren't keeping up with the blogs, you were kind of blindsided by it because it's like, where did this come from? Because you constantly talk about how you and your husband were in a good place. They are not transparent with one another, and they're not transparent with us. And I don't understand how they were the center of this season when they're not giving us the full story. They're not giving us the real them. We all know that Ralph is extremely problematic as a husband. He really does not value his wife. I don't even think he likes his wife. He's very disrespectful to her, overtly and covertly, extremely disrespectful to her. And Drew constantly is making up excuses for him. She really doesn't handle it the way she's supposed to handle it. For example, okay, in the season finale, when Ralph came into the room and Drew told him how Courtney, his so-called cousin, had called her the B word, Ralph really didn't care. It didn't bother him. It didn't matter to him. He could care less. And Drew was hurt by that. So Drew, what she does, she wants to unmic herself and she wants to run away. No, girl, you're on a reality TV show. The person that called you the B word is also on this show. You go to your husband for support and for him to confront or to handle the situation, and he doesn't want to. Talk about it. Don't unmic yourself and then run away. You're on a reality TV show. Deal with it on camera. If you don't want to deal with it on camera, don't be on a reality TV show. You know when your filming schedule is. You know when the crew is going to be in your house. And so you brought that up knowing that this is going to be on the show or hoping that it was going to make it to the show. So handle it on the damn show. So what ends up happening is she runs away and her sister has to handle it with Ralph. Ralph was extremely disrespectful with that whole situation with Courtney calling her the B word. You know, like, what do you want me to do? It wasn't a problem when so-and-so called you that. It wasn't a problem when so-and-so called you that. And I liked it when Allison said Courtney could have called her a banana. The fact is she called her something and it hurt your wife's feelings and you need to handle it. The sneakiness of their marriage, Ralph, having these weird relationships with assistants and managers and publishers and whatever else, never telling the truth. Drew kind of like making up excuses, not wanting to go too deep because it's on camera. She'd rather hand it in private. Y'all don't need to be on a reality TV show. Then her lying about whether or not she kissed Latoya, her lying about her relationship with Ty. I do believe that Drew is lying about all of this stuff. I do believe that she's lying about it, because it's one thing if Ralph is putting out the rumors that you're in a relationship with Ty, but it's another thing if Mimi Faust is, confirming it, or Mimi Faust is also putting it out there, because I don't think Mimi Faust has a dog in this fight. But she's also put it out there, or speculating that there was something going on between Ty and Drew. And then we saw the snippet of the reunion, a snippet of the reunion that's coming up, where Andy Cohen says that the text messages between Drew and Ty were pretty incriminating. Then in the confessional, okay, so on the finale, when they start showing us at the end, what everybody is up to after they had stopped filming, the little blurbs that they put up, the show didn't end there. And normally the show would end right there, but the show didn't end there. Actually, there was like another 10 or 15 minutes left in the show, and it was all dedicated to Drew and Ralph and about their divorce. But neither one of them could say anything, because they consulted with their attorneys on the phone. Well, can I talk about this? Can I talk about that? Nope. Okay, so what are we doing here? This is what I'm talking about. They're not transparent about anything, but this whole entire season was about them, and they don't want to talk about anything. Let me think if there's anything else that I want to say about Drew and Ralph. So I guess Ralph had felt bad about, not handling the whole Courtney calling Drew the B word situation. So I guess to make her feel better, he goes to counseling with her. And when they go to counseling, no progress is being made when they're in counseling. They argue, and I don't know what kind of counselor this is. I don't think he's really doing much to help them. I'm over their marriage is weird. The relationship is weird. Sometimes it's extremely uncomfortable to watch them, because there's a lack of respect between them. And I just don't understand, why Bravo decided to make them the center of the season. Okay, I've said enough about them. Sonia to me is a little bit too hyper. Okay, she's a little bit too hyper. Watching her is a little bit exhausting for me. I was really happy when she got pregnant, knowing that this is something that her and Ross really wanted, and giving her son a sibling. And then at the end, we found out that she lost a baby, and her mom was saying, kind of like without saying, that, yeah, you were doing too much. You should have just, but there's no way to confirm or to prove that her doing too much contributed to the miscarriage. Sometimes these things just happen. But her mom kind of like, well, I'm not trying to say that you were doing too much, or that has something to do with your miscarriage, but you were doing too much. So now, whatever. Okay. The fact that Sonia told her son so early on and was so detailed about what she told him. I think she even talked about how he was keeping track of how many weeks she was. That was doing the most. I didn't see anything wrong with her telling her son that early in the pregnancy that she was pregnant. I just think that it was doing too much, talking about it all the time, every day. Kind of like he was getting really attached, but it was still so early on. And maybe that was something that was out of her control, on how attached he was to the baby at that time. But I felt like telling him how many weeks that she was and how far along she was, I think that was probably a little bit too much for a child, that young. But thankfully she is pregnant again, so that's great. Candy is booked and busy. Candy, you're so booked and busy, you don't have time for you. And I understand Candy wants to still kind of hang on to this show, because this is what she uses to promote her other stuff. But Candy, if you're going to be on this show to promote other things, you're going to have to give us something on this show. Okay, just don't show up when you're trying to promote, your candy coated products, and your candy coated this, and your candy coated that. Tell what is going on besides, Todd in this movie, promoting the movie on this show, and you promoting your other businesses you got to give us something. What is going on with your life? Like, what else are you doing? What else is going on with Candy? It's like we only know Candy as the businesswoman. The last time that we knew Candy as a person was with the whole Dungeon Gate thing. That was the last time that we saw Candy as a human being. But ever since then, it's like we only see Candy as a businesswoman. We don't see her as a mother, as a wife. We only see Candy as the businesswoman. She's stopping by. She's going to stop by for about 5 minutes, and she's got to go and rehearse with Escape. She's going to go on a trip with the girls, but she's got to leave 3 days early because she's still touring with Escape. And it's like, Candy, we got to go back to giving us who you are as a person, but I guess you can't do that because all of y'all were fired. Kenya, once again, I like Kenya. I really do like her. I think she's good TV. I think Kenya is really good TV. I think she's funny. I think she's attractive. I think she does make good TV. But your whole entire existence on this show cannot be about the comebacks, reading people, shading people. It can't be all just about that, because Kenya, you can't talk about your divorce, okay, because it's still pending, so we don't know anything about that. You have before you got married to Mark, you have fake boyfriends. Everything is always, well, I can't talk about it because when you were dating the abuser, the guy that was, breaking into your garage, couldn't talk too much about that because, you were suing him or there were charges being pressed against him. You can't talk too much about Mark and the divorce because it's pending. It's like, if you can't talk about anything, what are you doing on a reality TV show? And there was nothing going on with there was nothing going on with Kenya this season other than her divorce is still ongoing. The longest pending divorce in history. Her divorce, which is crazy because they didn't have like a lot of assets. It's not like, one of them was a billionaire, with international businesses all over the world, and they had to figure all that stuff out. Not much was really going on. That's another one. I mean, she's on the show, but can't talk about anything. We don't really see her as... There was a slight moment of vulnerability, I guess, when she was talking about wanting to have another baby. But who knows how that's going to work out. Sheree. Sheree and Martell. There was more action between Martell and Kenya than there was between Martell and Sheree. Also, that whole situation, you got to keep it undercover and got to be really coy about it. Can't really say too much. The only thing that I can say is that we're really happy. That's all you can say. He pops up here and there, but not really. The whole thing of trying to be public, but yet still secretive. It's old. It's tiring. It's boring. Stop it. You would think that having someone as controversial as Martell, who's on a whole nother reality TV show, as controversial as he is, you would think that with him being with Sheree and making appearances on this show, that Sheree would have been a little bit more interesting. But it really wasn't that interesting. Couldn't say too much about anything. She barely even promoted She by Sheree. The most interesting thing that happened was towards the very end, and that left me with a whole lot of questions, which was at the sip and see. Her ex-husband Bob shows up with his daughter that Sheree knew nothing about. How does that happen? How do you not know that your husband... Okay, so he probably didn't tell her because he probably didn't know himself. Bob probably didn't know about this other daughter until this daughter was probably already grown or whatever the hell. And so what killed me was like, how is it that your children knew that this was her half-sister and were hanging out with her and they didn't bother to tell Sheree? And then Sheree says, it's not their place to tell me. How could your kids not tell you that? That whole thing didn't make any sense. So to me, I'm thinking that situation there of her not knowing about this other daughter of Bob's was fake. She knew. Sheree knew. I don't understand how your kids cannot tell you that. As close as you want us to believe that you and your children are, they're hanging out with their half-sister and they don't come back and tell you that they were hanging out with their half-sister. You had no idea who that girl was? I mean, there's no way that I can hang out with my half-sister and not tell my mom about it. Unless maybe Sheree had a problem. They felt like their mom was going to get mad or something. I don't even know why she would get mad. That didn't make no sense to me. It made no sense that her kids would not tell her. I don't care if Bob told her or not. I could care less about that. I'm worried about the fact that her children didn't tell her that they had a half-sister. when she was in the car with her daughter and they were talking about, the Bob's other daughter, her daughter said, "Oh, I thought you knew." But even if she thought that she knew, wouldn't she just casually mention, "Hey, mom, I hung out with my half sister today," or my half stepsister, whatever the hell she is to her oldest daughter? Because I don't know if I don't think the oldest daughter is Bob's biological daughter. Marlo. Marlo. Marlo, you should go back to being a friend of, because you're so much more interesting when you're the friend of. I don't know if Marlo kind of cracked under pressure as being an actual peach holder. I don't know, but Marlo gave nothing. And Marlo is usually extremely interesting and controversial because she's so ruthless and reckless with her mouth. But yeah, she gave us nothing this season. Absolutely nothing. Once again, she's got this male interest on the show. Can't even call him a boyfriend because I don't know if it's real or not. She has a male interest on the show and doesn't want to talk about anything. Doesn't want to talk about anything. Like, what's really going on between you and him? What are y'all really doing? It's like we saw them go on that one date and then he pops up here and there and then that's it. We know nothing else about their relationship. And we didn't really see her nephews, which I thought, was her saving grace, was her relationship with her nephews. Didn't get to see too much of them. Everybody wants to be on the show, but they don't want to give anything about themselves, but they want to be on a reality TV show. If you don't want to give a lot about yourself, go audition for a scripted show where you can play the fake characters and read the fake lines and have the fake life. Go do a scripted show. If you want to be on a reality TV show, you're going to have to give us something, and not just hoping and praying that the drama is centered around someone else and you just kind of go along for the ride. You're just a floater or a coattail rider. Because you don't want to give too much of your own drama. You want someone else to have the drama. They gave it all to Drew, and Drew fumbled the damn ball because Drew and Ralph are not interesting to me because they don't want to talk about anything. Anyway, that's all I had to say. I really don't care if they fire them. No skin off my nose. They can fire them. They can just put to rest a whole entire RHOA franchise. It doesn't really matter to me. Andy Cohen, I don't know, maybe this is the sign that this whole entire Real Housewives thing has to just go away. Maybe people are just tired of it all. It's the same old of nothing. I don't know. Thank you so much for watching. It is what it is. If you like my content, subscribe on your way out. Don't forget to rate the video, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.